Welcome to another exciting edition of Plank of the Week. I can't believe how quickly these things come around, but it's that time of the week again, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined with the company of course, the one and only Kevin O'Sullivan, back from his holidays, back from all sorts of shows that he's been doing with Talk Radio, and of course, Abby Roberts as well. Welcome back.
Hello, my love.
Thank you
so
very
glad
much.
to be back. Thank you for asking me back.
Would you like to kick us off, Abby, since you're since you've been, or would you rather just have a sip
Yes,
of
have a sip of my water. Ladies
elixir
first.
Yes.
Okay, my darling. I
Go on.
don't see a lady. Right, let's go. What should we kick off with? I think let's kick off with the NHS. Because
always makes me smile.
slow
clap for the NHS.
Slow clap, everybody, because what could possibly go wrong?
I'm not sure whether you
with
can
me
even
choosing that.
tell me any experiences you've recently had with the NHS, because you can't get into any doctor's surgery.
You can't get into doctor's surgery.
Or
yeah.
indeed, you don't supposed to go into hospital because
Yeah.
you might be sick and you might infect somebody with something.
Which is absolutely terrible.
You know.
Yeah, they're more like the National Death Service. But basically, the last 18... Can I just... That's my new name for everybody.
You just see those
Can we just
stencils
clip
everywhere.
that laugh so I can have it for all my shows?
The NDS.
The NDS. Yeah, go in and never come out.
Yeah.
But basically, I love the fact we're starting with a nice bright,
Yes.
nice bright topic.
Well, you have to laugh, don't you?
Basically, the NHS, what I've got against it, it's worshipped like a sacred cow.
Yeah.
If that sacred cow had 3 legs, half an udder and 1 eye.
Yes.
And basically, what I think is so ridiculous is that we all treat it as if it's this wonderful, healthy Frisian.
Yes.
God, I'm trying to stretch this cow
The
metaphor.
cow analogy,
Have you
yeah.
noticed
Cow stuff,
this cow stuff? You know, we're trying to treat this like this wonderful, healthy Frisian out with the alpaca on, Geronimo on the other side of the field. When it's not, it's basically failing the entire
It's lying on its
British
back with its legs in
public.
the air. If it's a cow, it's lying on its back with its legs in the air.
Exactly. Poor Daisy needs to
Yeah.
be taken out the back and shot. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not Geronimo, I hasten to add in case there's any Geronimo
But of course,
fans.
that must make you a fascist, or at least
Yeah.
somebody who wants to sell off the NHS to
Yeah,
Donald
absolutely
Trump.
terrible. Makes me a fascist, the fact that I want a health service that works for everybody. Actually, and at the moment, what I hate, because I've had personal terrible experiences with my late husband and my mum with the NHS, but it's not just the NHS, it's the entire health service, because there are so many tiers within the health service where you have one doctor he's in the NHS, but he's also working privately. And then you suddenly realise that actually the NHS makes no sense anymore. And as I think you very rightly said in one of your shows, it's an analogue system in a digital age.
Well, I can't
and it's
believe
letting
the
down the
numbers-
poorest people in our society.
The numbers of people that get in touch with us when we ever talk about this and say, I tried to take my elderly relative in, or my elderly mother.
Yeah.
They basically wouldn't let us in the door of the GP surgery, made us wait outside. Some people have been told to sit in the car.
Yeah.
We'll come out and see you. You can't come in because you might be sick. And it's like, well, it's a doctor's surgery.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be sick. You don't go there unless you're sick, do you?
Exactly. It should be done under the Trade Descriptions Act. The National Health Service is absolutely out. And also, what time, I can't even believe this happened, would a health service not allow people to sit and hold the hands of dying people? We're meant to be a civilised society, and the fact that they did that, and the fact that a lot of GPs, I'm not, I don't want to kind of like be personal about it, have allowed that to happen is disgraceful. And the cancer, 450 people basically are dying of cancer pretty much every day, which is just appalling.
And the new
in my
Secretary
view.
of State for Health, Sajid Javid, came out the other day and said, well, I know it's 5.5 million people that are waiting for a procedure. Well, don't worry, by December it could be 10.5.
Do you know
And you're going,
a lot of people have done well financially in the lockdown era?
Yeah.
And I personally have done very well. I've started up a business selling "Do Not Enter" signs to GPs, and they're putting them on their doors. They're selling like hotcakes.
Yeah.
I bet.
Are they in different fonts?
But this nation, you're right, Abby. Let's be serious for a second, just a brief second. Has been lobotomised about the NHS. So people, as a matter of rote, go around going, "We have the finest health service in the world." About 3 years ago, the World Health Organisation, they did a survey of the world's health services, and Britain's marvellous NHS came 26th.
Right.
We do not have the best health service in the world. We have an extremely flawed health service, and yet, as a nation, politicians, the citizens, seem constitutionally unable to discuss it in a sensible adult fashion because we hero worship, in fact, just worship it like our new god.
Yes.
And it's a strange mass neurosis that we have
And we've already-
about a flawed health service
Yeah.
that isn't very good. And if we don't reform it right now, it's going to become like almost a homicidal service.
Yes,
Well, it will be.
exactly.
And so many people are having to go private.
Yeah.
The private businesses are going very well. But equally, as you say, many of the people who work in the private sector in the healthcare system are already paid by the NHS to do the job there. And
It's
again, a
absurd.
lot of people get in touch with me and they go, oh yeah, they say to me, well, I can't do that and probably until about 6 months from now, whatever the knee operation is you want. Well, what if I go private? Oh, we do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
You're
and
the same guy.
And people always,
The same bloke.
the same guy. Exactly, you walk in one
You know,
door and come out the other, like
right.
sort of farce.
He
French
comes
farce.
out, look at me now. Now I'm wearing different clothes. And you have to pay me £5,000.
Exactly, in a nice tie.
Yeah.
But the other thing as well is that, and this happens on the left always, is that as soon as you say we need to reform the health service, we need to totally build it up again, they always go,
Fascist.
what, like America?
Yeah.
Yeah, like America, you mean you've got to be like really paid to the nose? It's like, why?
Our
Why
health
America?
service right now is like America.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it already?
Unknown to most idiots in Britain.
Yeah.
If you fall over in a car crash or you hurt your head or you've got a medical emergency, you will get treated in America in an emergency.
In an emergency, yeah, absolutely.
Same as here, I seem to think.
Right.
You only get treated in Britain now in an emergency.
Yeah.
If it isn't an emergency, an A&E case, you don't get treatment.
Well, you know
Simple
why
as
that is, because now there's only one kind of emergency, and that is, of course, the climate emergency.
The climate emergency.
There isn't any
an
other kind.
emergency.
You're not
No.
allowed to use that word anywhere
Yeah.
else. And we're already hearing, by the way, even though we're still in August, we're already hearing that we're going to have to start protecting and saving the NHS again
God.
come the
Saving
winter.
the NHS.
Because
No,
guess
no,
what?
no.
How many
Because we'll
times
have
we gotta
about
do
the
that?
50th sort of winter in a row
Yeah.
that there'll be another crisis.
But I really-
Shortage of beds.
Yeah, I really desperately worry. It's like, why isn't this, higher up on the agenda that we've had people dying at home because they were too afraid to go to a hospital to catch a virus that 99.99% of people have. That's getting
But that's
increasing
all right.
every day.
If you want a vaccine, we can practically come around to your house
We'll
and give it to you.
literally come round.
We'll
be
pop
hiding
round.
under your bed.
Not a
We'll give
problem.
you loads of jabs.
Yeah.
And it's nothing
We've
to
got
do...
any kids here as well. Why don't you do them as well?
Yeah, we'll do them as
And
into the bargain.
And every time we complain the NHS isn't very good, we haven't got enough money.
Yeah.
They get, I think it's
Give us more
200.
money.
I think they get £210 billion a year.
Yeah.
They do.
Now that is enough for absolutely anything in the world.
Yeah.
So it isn't money; it's rank inefficiency.
Yeah.
It is hundreds and hundreds of middle managers earning six-figure salaries, doing jobs you can't even explain.
Well,
Yeah,
do you remember
yeah, the
the other
ethos.
week I did the story about the medal, where if you were working for the Mid Yorkshire Trust, right, NHS, you could get a medal. A COVID medal,
medal.
for working so hard.
Medal.
And I had a
Look, I got
guy,
a medal.
and they spent 26 grand on these medals. They claimed that it didn't come out of the public purse because they took it from the local hospital charity.
Yeah.
So that's all right then.
Yeah, that's okay.
A guy
Well
got
done.
in touch with me to say, oh yeah, my friend's got one of these. She works for the NHS. She's a manager, and she's been working from home for the last 18 months. She gets a medal for all the hard work she's done during COVID, working from home.
And to,
Well
to
done,
get
everyone.
back into this
Yeah.
strange
Well done. Slow clap.
national, the strange national religion we
If I had
have.
a drum, I'd bang it.
Yeah, God has been. I told you when we used to go out and bang pots and pans. During
I never did.
Yeah.
No, we did because the dog liked it.
Yeah.
I used to clap.
Well, I lived 3 floors up, so I thought, look, I'm
Neighbours
bugging
used to
if
say,
I'm
shut
gonna
that dog up. That's the only reason we're out here.
Shut that dog.
Anyway, the point is that this weird God has been replaced by the NHS as the new British religion, and we have to stop venerating doctors and nurses. Oh, they're heroes, frontline workers, our heroes. They're just going to work to do the job they're paid for.
Yeah,
exactly. And
You
most
know,
consultants.
If you don't want to be around sick people, if you don't recognise the dangers of that, don't be a nurse and don't be a doctor.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Well,
it's
those,
ridiculous.
when they have
Yeah.
the sort of the level, elite level propaganda going in the summertime, when you have all these exhausted nurses coming out.
What,
being
doing their
interviewed,
TikTok videos?
So exhausted they can talk to
Yeah.
to the ITV News
Yeah.
to say, it's been a terrible day in intensive care. Some people have died. And you go, well, it's an intensive care ward. Usually you only go in there if you're close to death, and maybe you can be saved, but often of the times you're actually going to die.
They're more accurately, they can say, it's been a terrible day in intensive care. I mean, those TikTok videos don't make themselves.
Exactly. Got to.
I know.
It's like during the Spanish flu.
I know.
During the Spanish flu, did they have like all the
were they
nurses?
doing?
All the
Leave 'em alone.
nurses doing the
Leave 'em alone.
Charleston?
Leave
Some
them
of those
alone, you
routes are-
fascists. Leave them
Yeah.
alone.
But also,
They
nurses,
work hard.
angels,
They're
angels.
angels. They work
they're
hard.
angels, but also billions of quid, bloated, and the ethos of the NHS. I'm sorry, but I have to say, socialist written all over it,
Yeah.
state down.
course it is.
I think it employs more people. I could be correct
I think
me if
it's
I'm
the
wrong.
fifth biggest
than-
employer in the
Million
world.
and a half.
Million and a half. I mean, like the Chinese army,
Yeah.
we're talking, and
Right.
also I think the BBC goes along those. Let's just do the BBC while we're at it.
Well, I
shall
think
we?
you're fine.
Well,
By the
well,
way,
yeah.
by the way, while they were keeping you safe during the lockdown and the COVID crisis,
Yeah.
250,000 of those NHS employees had refused the vaccine.
Yes.
So you're getting treated by doctors and nurses who haven't had the vaccine.
Very good.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Because patients
Well done.
who go into A&E now, they're asked to... I had a phone call on my show the other week from a husband of a woman who's a disabled. She's a barrister, so they picked the wrong person. And they went and they said to her, could you sign this form to guarantee that you've been vaccinated twice? And she said, I'll only do it if all of you do the same.
Right.
And so the doctor said, well, we can't really do that. And she said,
Why
well,
not?
why is that? Because you haven't all been vaccinated. He said, well, basically, yes. She said, how many people in A&E here haven't been vaccinated? And he went looking around me, 7.
Well, that's the other
hilarious,
absurdity.
isn't
It's just, you couldn't make it up,
you know.
could
I
you?
mean, the world has become a very weird place.
Yeah, it has become a very weird
Okay,
place.
Kevin, who's your first nominee?
It is the Taliban. Why are they all so
is going
fat
well.
for a
The
kick-off?
Taliban.
Fat men with terrible beards.
Yeah.
Very bad sense of dress
And
as well.
Kalashnikovs.
And,
You've got to have a Kalashnikov. You're the
ill-fitting
Taliban. You've got to have a
Kalashnikov.
Kalashnikov, haven't
You've
you?
got to have, yeah.
And they have ill-fitting AK-47s across their
Yeah.
shoulders, and they like those missile
Yeah,
launchers.
they love the-
they love
the shoulder-to-air
Makes them look
missiles, yeah.
very tough.
They all they
They
get
can,
videos.
they can really bully some women around
Yeah,
with them.
that's right. Don't come near me,
This
darling.
awful cult of medieval thugs, this
Yeah.
death cult,
Right.
who treat women and gays and anyone they don't like basically by murdering them.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are an atrocious sect.
And one of the things that points them out to be even more ridiculous than all of that is something you point out on your show. You're not allowed to have a dog under the Taliban.
Yeah.
Because filthy animal. So
Yeah,
you can't
Yeah.
have,
you're
Yeah.
not-
you can't have a pet.
under their laws,
Yeah.
you cannot keep a dog as a pet.
Yeah.
I mean,
So Geronimo would be
No chance.
That's
No chance, mate.
pretty much,
No chance.
pretty much all you need to know about them. But
no music
Yeah, and then the
Oh, yeah, you're
trouble.
not allowed to have music.
or photographs on the pictures on the wall.
No women are allowed to do anything. You know, they've
Yeah.
already been going into banks and offices, hauling out the women who work there and telling them to go home and send
the
their
dinner.
men folk back
Yeah.
to do a man's job.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are sort of culturally somewhere around about the 7th century, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
They are so backward, it doesn't bear thinking about. And they're just vicious, awful,
Horrible.
backward, vile people who have about as much to do with proper Islam as I do.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I've got some breaking news for you, though, because this can come in just now. Afghanistan women can be educated up to university level, according to the Taliban
Great.
What
spokesman
about
today.
after
How
university?
fantastic.
No, then you've got to get back in the kitchen.
Well,
Get back in the
then the
kitchen, get your
Taliban
chains.
can once
Yeah.
again do one.
Yeah.
Get your chains back on.
And the other thing,
It's
the
unbelievable,
other
isn't
thing
it?
I want to
Who do they
criticise.
think
them.
they are, these
Why are
characters?
they, as I started off with, why are they all so fat? And why can't they trim their beards?
Well, they're probably
They've
not
got
allowed
no
to.
sense of personal
No
grooming.
sense of exactly.
They look like a mess.
Well,
Yeah.
well, apparently we're told though that they're the new Taliban, so they're like the more sort of modern, advanced.
Like
Taliban.
the IRA.
They look exactly like the last lot to
Yeah,
me.
the
To be-
IRA
to-
and the
to-
new IRA.
And to be fair, they have been living in a cave for the last sort of 20
So
years.
not bad, really.
So, you know.
Yeah.
But
And
they're-
with
I'll
goats.
give them a couple of things though. They're patient.
Yeah.
They've been waiting 20 years.
Yeah.
And as everyone says, they're the new, gentle, nice Taliban.
Nice Taliban.
No, as soon as the Brits and the Americans are out of there, we'll be back to the dark ages.
Yeah.
And this time, the trouble with the Taliban, as you said on your show today, Mike, they've got headquarters in Addis Ababa the size of the Pentagon. This lot are not a bunch of primitive tribes.
No, that's the UN I was
No.
talking about, not the Taliban.
The Taliban have got a massive office there as well.
Well, they might have, but they've certainly got representation in Doha, in Qatar.
Yeah.
You know.
They've got huge offices all over the world, and this time they are more sophisticated, they are better armed, they are better financed, and they are going to be a massive...
Well, now they've got all the opium as well,
They're gonna
so they're going to be making even more money out of drugs.
If you're a junkie, the good news is there's going to be plenty of heroin coming out of Afghanistan now, but they are going to present a bigger threat to this world than the previous Taliban ever did.
The previous incarnation.
Yes,
yeah, and I have to say though, I think Pakistan, we have to look to them as well because they're the people that trained up, during the Soviet era, when the Afghans fled to Pakistan, away from the Soviets. That's when they were in the madrasas, learning about Wahhabism, which of course comes from Saudi Arabia, as the most ultra-conservative sect of Islam.
Right.
So the Taliban, I mean, they are even more dangerous, but we have to, it goes back, doesn't
well,
it?
the thing you have to be
to
careful
the
of, it
70s.
seems to me, and all this comes to my first nomination, which is Joe Biden. Because you have to
Why have
say...
you chosen Joe Biden? I can't imagine.
Sleepy Joe.
Sleepy, creepy, Beijing,
creepy,
but
hair
Joe
sniffing Joe.
Biden, as he's known. I mean, this is a bloke who has been involved in foreign policy for the best part of his entire political career. He was Vice President Barack Obama when that all went horribly wrong. He's been in the Senate. He's been on the Senate Armed Services Committee. He's chaired it. He's been involved in every single conflict that America's been involved in. He's got every single one of them wrong. And in fact, he was described by somebody in his own party as getting everything wrong when it came to foreign policy. He's got this one wrong as well, because you can't say, it's one thing to say, oh, well, we don't want to fight wars forever. Fine. But you can't just leave a country like Afghanistan to rack and ruin, because these people are dangerous. And they won't stop at the borders of Afghanistan. They'll march into Pakistan, or they might march into Iran. They'd be probably very welcome to march into Iran, because everybody loves them.
They'll be welcome in Pakistan as well. They all go into an area called the lawless zone. So from North Pakistan into this sort of 1,500-mile border territory where there are no laws. It's where the Khyber Pass is.
Where all that sort of...
It's a strange place.
It's a very
and then you get to Afghanistan, so the Taliban just spread out across there. They're not recognising borders.
But the main reason I'm going to say that he's a plank is not just for doing what he did this past weekend and pulling all the troops out, so allowing the Taliban to literally walk in to every single city of Afghanistan without even having to fire a shot. I think they fired a shot to take over
That's
Kabul.
because they're quite popular.
Well, that's the other problem,
I was going to say, that's another issue.
He was asked
on the Americans and the Brits.
On July the 8th, he was asked at a press conference in Washington, are you worried that the Taliban could take over? And he said, there's no chance of that. Zero chance.
Zero
and
chance.
Then
Very
he was
unlikely.
asked. Then he was further pressed on, do you see this as a bit similar to Saigon and the final days of Saigon and the fall of Vietnam and the helicopters on the roof of the embassy? And he said there's no chance that will happen, because what we have here is an army of Taliban who are ill-equipped. There's only 70,000 of them, but we've got 300,000 highly trained and very well-equipped Afghan army. Well, he got that wrong, didn't he? Completely and utterly wrong.
This guy makes Donald Trump look like an international statesman. That speech he made, where he was hauled out of his holiday on Camp David.
Oh yes, the one where he blamed everybody else, including Donald Trump.
But also it was the most asinine America First speech you've ever heard. The only thing he's thinking about there in that speech is, and his policy with Afghanistan, is the midterms. So if I say I'm not prepared to have any more American boys spill their blood on foreign territory, he thinks he's going to get votes. And to an extent he will, but the optics have been so bad since then that he's going to lose.
I think the problem is it's backfired on him, because we're not out of this yet. And if there's any suggestion that there's any hostages taken or Americans get killed because they couldn't get out in time, I mean, we heard Tom Tugendhat this morning talking about how he knows there's certainly people that worked with the British forces who have been executed. They've been taken out of their homes and they've been killed. And that will happen. And there's no reason why the Taliban shouldn't do it if they want to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're not talking about a bunch of people who you can negotiate with. What I was going to say was, tell you the huge mistake, which I think was a PR stunt, because I'm cynical like that, is when he changed it from May, which was Trump's May 1st, to September the 11th. It's like, why don't you just have like a sign saying, come on in, guys, it's all over. It's 9/11/2. It's 9/11/2. This time you're really screwed.
I didn't like the first movie, but the second one's great.
What
an idiot.
It's like, literally signalling to the Taliban to do it.
I'm not a huge fan of us intervening in these foreign territories, and it's quite right, in a way, what the hell were we doing in Afghanistan except for maintaining a certain equilibrium, which I think we probably should have carried on doing. But the situation, even Trump, he cannot blame Trump. He's the man. He said, I'm the president of the United States of America and the buck stops with me. Exactly, Joe.
Right.
You cannot blame your predecessor.
And also,
you cannot blame the Afghans for not fighting. The situation was way more complicated than Joe Biden seems to understand. He's an embarrassment to his country, and he's humiliated America over the world.
And the Americans are not very keen on that right now. And Donald Trump, for whatever you may think of him, was probably doing the right thing, trying to get some kind of negotiations going. Because a bit like the IRA, you can't fight them forever. And if you can get some kind of peace, even if it's sometimes unpalatable, at least if people are not getting killed anymore, it's something.
And also, I was going to say, it's the thing that annoys me, again, the left did this a lot, is cultural relativism or moral relativism, when they say, well, maybe we can just go in and sort of have a little chat to them. Yeah. It's like, these people, they don't want women in any positions they don't want equality, they don't want democracy, they don't want freedom of religion, the Enlightenment we've been through. These guys, that's their idea.
It's the Western conceit. Conceit. And that is that we think that the people of Afghanistan and other third world countries, developing nations, new word, that their vision,
they want to be us.
That their vision of advance is to become like us. It isn't.
It's like putting a plaster on a bullet wound.
When they don't want to be like us.
In the early days, when I used to do way long ago, when I used to do the overnight show on Talk Sport, I used to get people ringing in to say, well, the thing about the Taliban is that at least they've got no crime. And you go, right. And also, you don't see young women walking around with their skirts halfway up. And I'm going, right. But then, of course, on the other downside, they do murder people for no good reason, hang people from lampposts, that kind of thing, rape women.
I thought you were going to say the thing about the Taliban is at least they get the trains to run on time.
Exactly.
But it's literally like that. It's literally like that. And somebody actually said to me today, but of course, they've obviously improved from the last time around, because didn't you see that interview that the Taliban guy did with the woman who wasn't covered up? And you're going, it's not really progress, really, is it?
Or did you see the CNN lady?
Yes.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Who was looking Western
Although
and free.
to be fair, she did put out a tweet later to say that the reason for that was that she was in a particular place where she was supposed to wear it, apparently.
Yes. But still, it's like, sorry.
But normally speaking, she'd have to cover herself completely.
Yeah, and that weird thing, that little grill that they've got. So it's literally, isn't it? It's medieval.
I know.
The women were just wearing a tent.
Well, it brings the mask debate back into operation, I suppose. But anyway, who's your second nomination?
Second nomination. Remind me. Oh, I know. Should we go with? Let's go with Australia.
Australia. Very good choice.
So that'd be
the entire nation.
Fortress Australia.
Fortress Australia. Because basically, right, Australia. I mean, they have turned into fascist.
The borders.
It's like fascist.
But you know what's interesting is Julia Hartley-Brewer said this the other week. She was like, we all assume, because we meet a lot of Australians in Britain and around the world, that all Australians are like them. But they're not.
They're furious.
But these are the ones that are leaving Australia because they're adventurous. But the bulk of people in Australia are sort of like Presbyterians from the 1950s from Scotland.
Yeah. Because we all think,
no, you can't open any shops on a Sunday. No.
Exactly.
You can't have a ferry that works on a Sunday like the wee freeze. That's what they're all like.
But it's like with Australia, we think of Foster's, Neighbours, and the Barbie,
Bondi Beach, and all that.
Bondi Beach. We do not think of you. We do not think of going to a stadium with your kids, right, and have them jabbed up with their bloody eyeballs.
Right, and also you may not remove your mask while drinking.
Yeah, you may not remove it. Yeah, that was that Scott. What's his name? Scott Andrews. No,
something like that.
In Victoria.
Like
basically saying, but it's not. It's saying that you can't, when you drink a cocktail, you've got to keep your mask on. So that either means you slip matron the straw up the mask, or have a little hole.
But surely if you have a hole in the mask, is that not a problem?
Well, exactly.
I'm not a scientist, as we like to say.
Exactly. I'm no expert.
I'm no epidemiologist.
It's like, Jesus Christ, so let's not have any conversations about anything then.
Right.
You're an expert. But also, it's the tone of this guy.
Yes.
He's stood there.
Like he's saving the world.
And he's literally going, you may not drink a cocktail without a mask on. It's bloody hell,
and then
mate.
you not do something about staggering around, staggering around pop-up bar. Well, because that's
going to another bar.
Well, no, apparently they've because they've been getting around the rules. I think that's what his problem is. It's because they've been opening bars in the middle of the street
the rules
because they're outside.
are bullshit anyway.
But isn't it the case that Australia's only had about 1,000 deaths anyway?
Very small number.
They're paralysed into an irrational fear.
Well, they get one
of a
case,
virus
right?
that isn't doing much damage.
No, you get
to
one
them.
case in Melbourne, and they shut the place down for 7 days.
That's what they've done.
mad.
One
I've never seen
case.
anything like it.
Yeah.
They've also got a guy talking about
terrifying.
fining people 5,000 Australian dollars for being caught out with more than 2 people outside.
Yeah.
Another 5,000 for breaching guidelines. Another 5,000 for lying to an official who's asking for your name. I've never been to Australia. Right? I'm never going.
Me neither. I haven't been. I'm certainly not going to go now.
Too bloody far away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're such a strange country, and I think it's in their DNA because in the 1920 pandemic, I'll tell you something.
You said a lot of
Pandemics aren't what they
1919.
used to
That's what they used to be, mate.
I lost the plot there. You said 19 too many times.
1919.
Hey? Oh, the Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu
great
at
flu.
the end of the First World War.
1918,
19.
Half past 4 is your favourite.
Yeah.
Matron will be round.
1918, 1919, 1920. It does
Paul
kind of.
Hardcastle, is it?
Those are dates. That's a date.
Well, I've worn out.
You've never heard of the date
Do you know what?
1920?
I've lost the will to
But I've
live.
never heard of the
well,
date
I've lost the will.
1920.
No, I said 1919, 1920. That's like
you know
a
what?
slash.
All right, calm down.
I think the viewers have switched off.
Anyway,
what was the only
was the
country?
year again?
What was the only country in the world to close its borders in that pandemic?
Was it Australia?
It's good old Australia.
Oh my God! I
Blimey.
didn't know that. You're a fount of useless information.
It's in their DNA.
But you know what? You're probably
they're
right,
scared
doesn't it?
of diseases.
But do you think
Unbelievable.
also isn't voting's mandatory, isn't it?
You have to
as
vote.
well?
Yeah,
You have to
yeah,
vote.
otherwise you get fined for that as well.
I quite
Jesus
like them for that. They just
Yeah.
they were getting about a 2% turnout.
Well, we can't be
Well,
asked.
mind you, that's because their local polling booth is 4,000 miles
Yeah,
away,
right. You got to get
next to the
played.
neighbour.
You know, you got to get played. It really is
Through the
quite
outback.
extraordinary. Right. So your
Australia.
second one.
My second one, we're still in that same part of the world, Jacinda Ardern,
Yes.
the redoubtable New Zealand leader,
Oh, yeah.
who, in the light of the Taliban's swift repossession of Afghanistan, tweeted an appeal to the Taliban to respect women's rights. Good luck with that.
Right.
Good luck with
Good
that.
luck,
I mean,
horseface.
she had an operation to make her eyes especially wide or something. I mean, she's the most wide-eyed idiot in the face of this.
Big-toothed.
And by the way, you know, Fortress New Zealand, she was the greatest leader in terms of combating COVID. You know, when they got 4 cases in Wellington, she shut down the entire country.
Wellington.
Wellington.
Yeah.
Get to bed and look after yourself.
Well, I was quite. I think it was. Was it Mae West or somebody like that? Who once
Look,
went
you
to.
look at me and
I
you
know.
suddenly reminded me.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
darling.
Who, for those of you who don't know who Mae West is, was a film star.
Yeah.
Went to Auckland once on some tour or other, and declared it to be half the size of Queen's Cemetery and twice as dead.
That's so true.
I've never been to New Zealand, but someone...
No, not going there
someone
either.
I know, my brother went and he said the scenery is stunning. He said, but in terms of the towns, he said, it's like sort of travelling through eternal slough.
Yeah.
It is
Oh
just
my
like...
God.
But you can get
it's
some very good
just
fush and
suburbs.
chups there.
Fush and chops.
and
But
chops.
anyway, Jacinda Ardern, having gone from the heroine of the islands down there, the COVID queen, is now they're finally realising that she's a bit of an idiot. I mean, this is the woman.
Finally?
This is the
Bloody hell.
woman that's kicked off her premiership by saying, "I'm going to prioritise happiness over the economy."
Yes.
So she's going to make people
How's that
happy
going for
rather
her?
than have a good economy.
how's that been going?
If you have a bad economy, there's not much happiness around.
No.
Anyway, she now is presiding over a COVID disaster. Their vaccine rollout is one of the worst in the world.
Same in Australia.
And the people of New Zealand are sick to death of her big tooth smile.
Yeah,
A
they
big
really
horse
are.
face. But isn't it? But she's so woke
is
as
the-
well.
the-
That's what I hate about her. She's
Yeah,
so
sorry.
Yeah, but
bloody
she had
woke.
the baby, and then she brought the baby
Oh.
into Parliament and to breastfeed
Oh,
the baby.
God,
and
I
it's
mean-
all about this is what I have to do.
Is it?
It's
I mean,
supposed- you know.
She's Woko Ono.
She really is.
You know,
Woko
she
Ono,
really, she's
yeah.
dreadful. But I mean, you know something with the Taliban, you can imagine she'll be going, won't you? We need to. Well, didn't she said? She said, you know, we need to talk about human rights.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know that picture of there's a picture of them, the guys,
Right.
like all just around a
The
table.
ones-
and
the
one of
ones
them,
there, they're in
you
the
know, with
presidential palace
with
when
the
they took over,
Kalashnikov
yeah.
like this. And literally, I was
It
just
looks
like
like a reunion of the Bee Gees or something, doesn't it? Except with guns.
exactly. exactly.
It's like
the Bay City Rollers have changed. But it's like, but also, what's she going to do? Sit there and just as they go around, say, "Listen, guys, we're going to go around, and you can tell me what your pronouns are."
Yes.
I mean, it is absurd.
He, him, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
he, him.
There is no she, her.
Warlord
There's no she, her
There's
in
no
Taliban.
she, her.
No, it's only he, him, I'm afraid.
what a sort of naive thing for a world leader to twit.
He, him.
He, him, yeah.
He, him.
It's so naive though for a world leader.
Well, I can
it's
beat
embarrassing.
that. I'm going to stick with that, but I'm going to add on Sophie Walker, who's a woman I've never
love
heard
this,
of.
I love this,
She's
I know
from
what this
the Women's Equality Party, apparently.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise until yesterday that she's already blocked me. I don't know why she's blocked me, presumably because I'm a disgusting, absolutely ghastly
She just likes to go with the
creature
crowd.
of men.
Because you're a man.
Well, that's true, yeah. I just didn't want to miss out. Anyway, she started a petition against the Taliban. You go. Right, so if you sign this petition,
Taliban is a petition. Be nice to women.
100,000 women from Putney have signed a petition. You go, right, okay, then that will change everything, won't it?
Yeah.
That'll make the world a better place.
Oh my God.
You do wonder, but this is the trouble with an awful lot of these do-gooders. And I must say, you were talking about feminists earlier.
Yeah.
You haven't heard very many of them going on about the ghastly treatment of women in Afghanistan. They've gone very quiet.
Yeah, they have gone very, very
Why is
quiet
that?
because it's very inconvenient because they're all up in arms about rainbows this and rainbows that and aren't men terrible.
They think they're noble warriors of the East.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, because
exactly.
they're fighting the great Satan.
Yeah, exactly.
America.
Noble
Yeah,
warriors.
enemies of the West.
Yeah,
Yeah,
enemies of the
therefore
West.
friends of theirs.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like
That's fine.
anti-capitalist.
It's all right. They can stone as many women to death as you like.
Yeah,
that's fine.
As long as they're Marxists,
Yes,
that's fine.
that's
but
all right.
it's literally the feminists are very quiet. It's because mainly they'd have to actually pull their bloody finger out if they wanted to sort of do something.
Yeah.
And I would suggest that all feminists, especially of the left, I mean, there are some, I have to say, some very outspoken feminists, as in saying good stuff. But
Yes.
I'd say the ones that are the kind of left, what I think of as kind of media
The
feminists,
media lovies, yeah.
media lovies, I would say take some Afghani women into your homes.
Yes.
Otherwise,
and
shut
shelter them.
the F up.
Yeah, exactly right. Now I'm going to go with my second nomination, and it's good old Professor Neil Ferguson, or Pants Down Ferguson, as he used to be known. Now, only a week ago, he gave a couple of interviews to a couple of newspapers in which he said to the Times, "Yes, my prediction was off. We will learn to live with COVID." He then said to The Guardian, "Further COVID lockdowns in the UK are now unlikely," says Neil Ferguson, because he thinks we've got on top of the problem. Now, I immediately got worried about that because I thought, hang on a minute, if Neil Ferguson, the man that never gets anything right, is saying it's all over, then clearly it's not all over.
He got on top of something.
Well, I mean, he certainly
During the
did,
lockdown.
and underneath it, I think, as well. A couple of occasions with his friend from Germany, who was apparently married. But that's another story.
Yeah.
But then, right, only today, he's given another interview where he's gone reverse ferret on the reverse ferret. So he's now saying that a new wave of COVID infections is possible when the schools and office workers return. And he's predicting 1,000 hospital admissions per day with a COVID autumn wave. Now, I wonder whether he's actually got something wrong with him now, Neil Ferguson, that he actually is now addicted to publicity.
He's
and
obsessed.
he can't actually go for more than a week without completely making a contrary statement to the one he made the week before.
Yeah. He's like the person who can't stop talking about an ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
You know when you get with your friends and you think, oh, it was years ago. Oh, but do you remember Steve? Oh God, not COVID again.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the boyfriend you never want to hear about
Or
again.
in his case, the current mistress that he's breaks the
current-
lockdown
the
rules
current
to go
mistress.
around and see.
Maybe he's just trying to get out of it or something. He doesn't want to see her, so he's going to pretend there's going to be a massive, like lockdown.
Yeah,
You can't
exactly.
come round.
You can't
Because,
come round.
I mean, the
Forgive
thing,
him
that I
for
really,
that.
the thing that I find amazing is that Radio 4 and Today programme interviews this guy more than once a week, almost every week.
Yeah.
And here's a story from ITV's website. And it says, a large wave of COVID-19 in the autumn could see around 1,000 people admitted to hospital each day, a scientific expert has warned. I mean, sorry, Neil Ferguson is not a scientific expert, right? He makes models of things and gets them wrong
that were all
constantly,
wrong.
right?
Yeah.
They say, Professor Neil Ferguson, infectious disease modeller. What does that even mean?
Yeah.
What's an infectious disease modeller?
Ethics is glue and things.
Yeah.
An epidemiologist from Imperial College London says current case rates are sobering heading into September. So I'm quite pleased, actually, in a way, because now that I'm more... He's now saying more likely the things that I don't want to happen.
Yeah.
So therefore, they won't happen because he'll be getting this wrong as well.
Exactly.
So when he says there's going to be a big wave, that means there won't be.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he did say he thought it might all be over by October.
Well, that's what he said last week.
Let's hope it's
no, but this is what I'm saying. That's what he said last week, and he's now completely reversed that.
Yeah.
And he's moved back to the other side.
Yeah. But also, it's like if the vaccine rollout, if the vaccines are doing their job, and if people are 96%, 97% of people have antibodies.
It's a ludicrously high number, isn't it?
Ludicrously high number. Then it begs the question: when are we going to get back to normal? Because if we're not back to normal now, I tell you what, guys, there's something really wrong going on with this bloody virus.
They've negated the whole concept of herd immunity. So we've been sold herd immunity. If you go back to last March, you'll hear the Deputy Chief Medical Officer, Sir Patrick Vallance, addressing the nation and assuring us that the target is herd immunity. Then we will have beaten the virus, and the figure he has in mind was around about 60% of people with antibodies. We got to 60% and they upped it to 70%. We got to 70%, they upped it. And in the end, the last target was from about a month ago. They said we need to get to 93.4%. We got to that about 2 weeks ago. And then guess what? Sage announced, well, actually herd immunity doesn't count because the Delta variant,
but they talk to us.
Delta variant can trump the...
They talk to us like somebody's the person that's taking you hostage, and they open the door to the basement, shout something down, and then shut it again. And then they go away for a couple of days, come back, shout something else down.
Yeah, you hear the footsteps.
They treat us as if we've not actually heard anything else they said before, what they're just saying.
But also, isn't there a real misconception about viruses in the sense that they never go away? I mean, even swine flu is probably lurking right down.
Go away.
But that's the misconception. Viruses don't just disappear completely.
No,
I mean, we're made of viruses. Viruses are everywhere.
Exactly.
Flu viruses, what's it called? Not norovirus.
Norovirus.
No, that's the one.
Yeah.
Norovirus. That's a new Italian
one. Where everybody throws up.
Where everyone throws up.
Yeah.
That's all around us. The thing is, we're human. We can't escape that. The best we can do is just crack. Yeah, most of us are.
I'm not sure about Chris Whitty. But
not sure about Chris Whitty. But we have to crack on and live our lives and be human.
Why are we still doing the statistics now are minimal?
Because
they're tiny.
It's just ridiculous.
But now they do the old
tiny,
percentages things. Oh, I've gone up 30%. You go, yeah, but it's up on what, 10?
I
just
think that our governments all over the world, Australia we're just talking about, are gripped it by a kind of neurosis. They've got a kind of illness.
They have.
It is. It's like an obsession.
I mean, they've all got these different... I don't think they can let it go. I think they can't let it go. They don't know what to do.
By the way,
because if they do let it go...
Because
also, look at Boris Johnson. If he lets all of this go,
Yeah.
He's going to have to start talking about proper politics
and
also, things that
also,
actually matter.
He's going to have to talk about a sunk cost fallacy, isn't he?
By the way, what's he doing sending his medically unqualified wife out to say, I've had the vaccine while pregnant.
It's absolutely shocking.
All pregnant mothers should do this. There are very low risks.
Disgraceful, isn't it, really?
She's not a doctor. Why should anyone listen to her?
Terrible.
Time marches on.
Yeah.
We need your third nomination.
Oh, okay, so let's go.
I keep asking you for things to say just as you're about to put water into your mouth. My apologies.
As I've got something in my mouth, my darling. Which is a regular kind.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Ken Loach.
Ken Loach. He's a great character, is Ken Loach, isn't he?
Which rhymes with roach.
Yeah.
He's about as useful as... Well,
and
actually,
Coach.
And
Coach. Ken Coach.
So Ken, lovely Ken, and actually showbiz people in general, not us, excluding us, of course, but lefty.
But we're not really showbiz people.
We're not really. No, we're
serious journalists.
We're reprobates.
No, we're serious journalists. Very serious.
And then me in the middle.
Yes.
Ken Loach and basically lefty lovies, just all of them together, but particularly Ken Loach, because Ken Loach has just been relieved of his duties. Keir Starmer has gone, sorry, Ken. Yeah. Your time's up. Your numbers up.
You might have made some good films in the past, but you're out.
You might have made a film about a bird, a kestrel that bothered a small child.
Yeah.
Basically, anyone else find that film really creepy?
Well, I remember watching it when I was a kid.
Bird.
I never really quite got it.
No, I was like, is that a bit weird, that kestrel?
A lot of it was because it was filmed in the north of England, and I couldn't quite understand what they were doing. I lived in North London at the time. I'm going, who are these people?
You're going to have people writing in.
What the hell was that? And that bloke with the bald head, he was very good.
Oh, Brian Glover.
Brian Glover. He's very good. I like him.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway,
didn't he also make that I Am Daniel, whatever?
Daniel Blake.
I am a whinging benefits grounger. That one, yeah, he made that. By the way, that was a joke.
He made another
joke, everyone. Just calm down.
He made another one about the gig economy, didn't he, recently?
Did he?
Oh,
about a couple struggling.
Oh, it sounds like
the gig economy, which has actually made a lot of
I think I'll stick with Fast and Furious 8.
I like the gig.
With Helen Mirren, looking
wrong
very
with the gig
confused.
economy?
But basically, let's go back to
Yeah.
lovely Ken Loach, because basically I just think, look, you stand there accepting your BAFTA
Yeah.
for whinging benefits grounder. I whinging benefits grounder 2
Yeah.
will be coming out. And
I'm still here.
I can't wait.
I've got a housing benefit this time.
I'm still in the queue. But anyway, right, he's accepting this BAFTA,
Right.
and he's literally stood there going, yeah, I don't want, and it's the way they stand there, clutching their
Is this
award.
for everybody that
You know, it's like,
deserves
this
it?
is, I'm not really, and he actually said in his last speech, he went, you know that, when we accept our awards, we're not accepting them for us personally. We really care about the people.
Yeah.
There is an interview that he's given that's going around on YouTube where he's very, shall we say, circumspect about the Holocaust. He's very circumspect about the anti-Semitism that he's been accused of.
He calls it the witch hunt.
Yeah.
And it's because he will
and I
not
see
disown
that great
anti-Semitism.
Yeah, exactly.
that great Democrat John McDonnell was standing up for him the other day,
with a
saying
little mouse
how
little red book.
Yeah, how ridiculous that a man of his calibre has been expelled from the Labour Party, and if we're not careful, we're not going to have a Labour Party left. But I think presumably that's Keir Starmer's plan, isn't it? Yeah. Make it as unpopular as possible, get as many people out of it as possible, so they can form another party, and then that'll be the end of the Labour Party.
No,
Job done.
They reckon come the party conference, Corbyn might get his marching orders.
Well, I think
it's
he
a
should.
day of reckoning for Starmer.
Well, they're going to have
if he
to, aren't
doesn't
they?
kick Corbyn
Well,
out,
Yeah,
then,
that's gonna be
then
it.
it's
Well,
the,
I mean, they
it's
cannot
the stand
complete.
he has to
They
make.
cannot
Yeah,
complete
yeah.
the putsch, since we're talking
Yeah,
Russian,
yeah.
can they? Without getting rid of Corbyn.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Because
he's
Corbyn and
already out of the
Loach.
parliamentary
Yeah.
party,
Yeah.
and Starmer wants to kick him out.
Okay.
Of the
It'll just be
party.
Keir Starmer left like a polar bear
And
on
Angela
a
Rayner.
bit of ice.
Ken Loach
Angela
could make a
Rayner.
film of it.
Oh my God, called.
But he'd have to get them all up to Coronation Street and put them in a terrace house. Lots of
the
smoke.
end.
According to Ken Loach, all of the north is like a Lowry painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So over to you, Kevin, for your third nominee.
My third nominee is Shirley Ann Somerville.
Oh,
she
yes.
is Scotland's Education Secretary, who last week affirmed a document allowing Scottish school children as young as 4 years old to self-identify in whatever gender they want. This would be a decision they made backed by the state and their school.
Right.
Their parents were not allowed to have anything to
Course
do
not.
with it. And once a 4 or a 5 or a 6 or a 7-year-old said, say it's a boy, I want to be a girl, all the teachers have to start using the female pronoun she or her.
Unless you're the
now,
Taliban.
this isn't anything against trans rights or anything.
Well, it's just ridiculous,
If you
isn't it?
want to, transition, that's fine by me. But surely, to be serious for a second, how can sentient adults decide that it is in any way responsible to allow a 4-year-old to make a life decision as serious
4-year-olds
as
in
the
my
gender
experience,
that they are going to inhabit?
4-year-olds in my experience don't know what to have for dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
What gender they want to
Exactly. I think it's tantamount to child abuse.
Yeah.
It is.
Parents,
Mad, isn't it?
Parents and indeed teachers have to be responsible for the welfare of 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds. That's our job as adults.
Yeah.
And to just say you can make a decision about whether or not you're a boy or a girl, and to actually take it seriously, it is insanity and it is irresponsible. And as I say, I think it's tantamount to child abuse.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we haven't got a lot of time to discuss it, unfortunately. Well, even less time to discuss my third one. It's Hugh Edwards.
Lovely Hugh.
Lovely Hugh.
Lovely.
I'll tell you what it's about. Hugh Edwards, News at 10. He's had to take a pay cut recently, which has upset him a bit. £170,000. Now, that's not what he's getting paid. That's the pay cut.
Wow.
So he was making, I think, somewhere near 600,000 a year.
Yeah.
He's down to 400,000. And he says the job's a bit taxing. The job involves, as Kevin said before, reading out loud from something
It's
somebody else
reading
has
an
written
auto
down.
cue.
He's literally reading an auto cue out loud so that people can hear him. And I know it's not straightforward. I'm sure if I tried to present the news, it would be an absolute
It
car
would
crash.
take you minutes to pick it up.
Well, I don't. But I mean, he does it well and all that. But is he worth 400,000?
Do you think he does
not.
it? I don't think he does it all.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I haven't watched it in such a long time. I
He's
kind
a
of
bit-
went off
he's a
him.
bit wooden,
I went off
Yes.
him when he took his shirt off, to be honest, and he stood there with his new
yeah.
rippling muscles and said, "Look at me, I've been boxing." Really,
I haven't watched the BBC for so long, and also he's gone a bit sort of woke.
he has.
bit.
Like very
He says
woke.
that
It
he
just
thinks
doesn't
it's-
suit the Welsh either.
He also says he thinks it's fair that viewers and ambitious colleagues have a change of presenters. I don't know what he means by that. Whether somebody's sort of chasing him.
sort of with the knife out.
He's aggrieved because people like him had to take pay cuts in order to facilitate economically the massive pay rises the BBC decided it had to give to women who they'd been underpaying on the basis of their sex for many, many years. So in order to take Emily Maitlis's salary up from, I think, 150,000 to 350,000,
yeah, because that's what she's worth.
people like Hugh Edwards and who's that guy, John Edwards, and various other male presenters had to take massive pay cuts.
And he says, this is his quote, and he said all this in Welsh, by the way, so I've had it translated specially. I don't expect anyone to feel sorry for me, but if you do get a huge pay cut, it's certainly going to affect you, your psychology and your attitude towards the work. There's no doubt why he's doing it. He's not happy.
No.
He's obviously feeling quite aggrieved, and he's just going to go stick two fingers up to the BBC. And go and work for one of the Welsh language channels, because they register zero in an awful lot of places in Wales because nobody watches them.
What they always like to do, all the highly overpaid BBC men, is when they reach about 60, so they can cash in their enormous pensions, state-funded pensions, they like to go and get some sort of job in the private sector, so they can pull in about $500,000
like
a
Chancellor
year
of a university
for a quick
or
4 or
something.
5 years.
And
then
a bit of after dinner speaking.
Or go and work for
the Daily Mail.
Bob's your uncle. That kind of thing, absolutely. Now, because we've been so overexcited about everything, we've run out of time. So we're going to have to do this quite quickly. We're going to have to get through the 9 nominations that we have, get them down to 3. So you might remember how this works, Abby. Basically, you tell Kevin what your 3 were, if you can remember them. And he picks one, and then we make that one of the finalists. So tell him your 3.
Okay, my 3 were the NHS, Australia, and Ken Loach.
It's a hat trick of great choices.
Choice, isn't it?
I think for resonance, I think Australia's crazy, and Ken Loach is just sort of. I just not going to nominate someone who's 127 years old. So because it will resonate, I'm going to go for the NHS, which goes from mad to worse.
Yes, very good
choice.
Indeed. The National Death Service, as you were calling it earlier. Kevin, tell me your 3.
My 3 were the Taliban, Jacinda Ardern, and my final one, I can't remember what it was. What was it?
Shirley Ann Somerville.
Shirley Ann Somerville.
I think I'm going to go with the Taliban, because that seems pretty present as well, given that this is the week that they've done all the business that they did. Now, you've got to pick mine. I've got Hugh Edwards, Joe Biden and Neil Ferguson. All men, I hasten to add.
They're lovely men. I would say, God, on balance, Joe Biden.
I think that's right.
Yeah,
I think so, because he has caused the biggest problem the world has seen
his
for quite
reaction
some
was
time.
just ridiculous.
Absolutely hopeless. Right, so I'm going to carry over the United Nations, by the way. They were in it last week for the panel on climate change report, because there's such numpties. This time they're in it because of that ridiculous hearing they had yesterday, where they sort of basically told Afghanistan to, stop misbehaving, and the UN has been completely powerless to do anything about it, because China and Russia don't let them do anything.
No.
It's pointless activity. Right, so NHS, Joe Biden, the Taliban. Which one of those do you think should emerge as the winner?
Plank of the week this week.
Yeah.
For my money, I think, because he's the bad man at the moment, I think it probably has to be
Biden. I think
Biden.
so.
I think Biden's the winner.
Yeah.
Should we go with Biden as number 1, NHS 2, Taliban
NHS, just
3?
they've been so appalling.
Yes, I think that's good.
Yeah.
Right, well, so Joe Biden, leader of the free world, you are now also Plank of the Week. Congratulations. We'll see you next time.